Yeah, so it starts, we just want to look at the Venus cycle. So Venus starts here at just 0 and 19 is Sag, moves forward October 57, 1 retrograde, backed up November 68. It goes back into Scorpio, but really it was January 68 when it came back to its own position that I went into this room to be alone. This room's to be alone, to start meditating. But the meditating was involving chanting and singing, which was the Venus thing. So it really was an emotional, taking Venus to another level, to an emotional thing of trying to be content with chanting and being alone, rather than trying to fit in and be the way to be with someone. Then I went back into Scorpio and it backed up, and it conjuncted my IC. By the time it conjuncted my IC, I got married. Okay, I came out of the room, I got married, then I went back up to that, then it went forward again, and when I went direct, I had a big move came in, and actually had gone back, just as it was going around to Venus, I went back to India and went into these solitude rooms again, just as it went direct. Then it went forward in my life. So you just want to have a glance of how the Venus and the Mercury works. It doesn't have to be this detailed, but if you've done the detail, you've got it. It's easy to go in and relate to that and just add that storyline in. So it stays with you. And again, with your ephemeris, you can have I've just done the column. You can do, this should all be on one sheet, but I did each one separately so I can see where Venus went retrograde 57, goes retrograde, it goes a long time retrograde. It wasn't until 99, then it went direct. So I go back and forth. So you can see the degrees it's in and follow it through. So this allows you the detail to navigate through and get this information simply just from your ephemeris. But most people don't even use ephemeris anymore. They have computers. So you're dealing with reports. But if you have an ephemeris, this is why many people, astrologer for you, would never be without their ephemeris. They'd carry it with them wherever they would go, just so they can instantly reference these things whenever they need it. And they develop the capacity that once you get used to doing this, you can look at someone's chart and you're always looking the next 3 months. Even if you're looking at the natal chart, you look forward to see how many days passed, to see what the regressions were more or less going on. You wouldn't have it as accurate, but you get it as close enough to work with. Okay, so this is the work we want to do. This is the stuff we want to add in on top of the Saturn cycle. There's 3 reports that you can get in WinStar, which is why I suggest WinStar more than anything else. The first one, so if you're not going to draw all these things, you don't have the time to draw all these things out, you just want to use the computer, you're going to get the Saturn, the transits of Saturn, 30-year Saturn report. Really, it's 90 years. And I'm going to show you how to do this. It's just great. Because it includes everything, I don't use it in the transiting class level because I want you to think really one planet at a time, one fact at a time to get to understand it. So just take a minute to run up here. Okay, yeah, here we are. So I'll get to mine, sorry, just move this along here. Okay, and we'll just go into search. And so the search engine will come up. It's 2 programs, right? But you have to come at it from inside the matrix, from the chart, and it brings the chart forward. And it has a chart that puts on today's date. So really, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take the current date and put it back to my birth date. So I arrow down here to get it back to way back, 1946. It tends to move so fast when you get going, they go bypass your year. So 1946, October 17th, there we go. So I put it just to my birthday, the current date, to my birthday. No, actually, I did that wrong. I should put it to the day I'm doing the session, 67. 67, we'll say October, so we'll say my birthday, 67, okay. So now you go in here to run off your transits and things like that. So I'm not doing that. What I want to do is go up to these reports, the section of reports. And the report says Saturn transits 30 years. It's really 90 years in 30-year sections. Okay, then there's going to be progress scan for 30 years we're going to use, and there's going to be a yearly transits and progressions. So these are 3 reports we're going to get that we're going to be using for this. But here's the Saturn report, and then you'll appreciate it now. It takes the current transit, show what's going in, shows what's been happening over this past few years and what's exactly happening now. February 65, it's going to oppose my ascendant. It did, and 68 will square the moon, and we're looking at 67. So it gives a little description about it. It's really handy to even give out to clients. But then it talks about the phases of the cycle, and here's the material that we need. It gives all of your Saturn aspects for 30 years. We use Saturn, we're watching Saturn to Saturn, Saturn to the Sun, and Saturn to the angles, which are on the far right, Saturn to the MC, Saturn to the ascendant. It puts them there, but it also gives you Saturn to each other planet. So it's because it has almost too much information, I don't use it at the Saturn point. Really, we can look at this and we can use it for just the, look at the ones we need, but it organizes the whole life with all your Saturn transits, just like that in a few seconds. Look at the work it saves. So this is one of the reports we're going to use. Okay, I've got this. I just wanted to show you it. The second one is under reports is going to be the progress scan for 30 years. Really, it's 90 years. And it sets up your progressions. And this is very useful because it organizes it almost, it gives the progressed moon, just running it through. It gives you progressed sun going along. It tells you what house the progressed moon's going through. It tells you, and then it gives you the aspects from the progressed Mercury and the progressed Venus. Then it gives you the progressions on the far right, which you can see the new moons and you can watch the moon phases. So this is a really useful printout, and it does it for the lifetime. So these are the 3 reports that you can use to set yourself up to be ready to do a chart for someone. Well, transits, progressions, one other report here. The other report is yearly transits for one chart, and progressions. It says yearly, but you can do it for a lifetime. And you can do it for 2 people's charts too, but this one is better. And for this one, I zoom it back to the beginning. It'll always be set to 1946 for a lifetime. If I'm going to do this, why do it for 2 years when at the same time you can do it for 50 years for a whole life? I put 2 years a page, and I put, let's do 50 years. I run it off. Okay, so in a few seconds, we got the transits of the outer planets. This is our 8-year graph. It gives the transits of the outer planets from Pluto to Saturn, conjunction squares and oppositions for the lifetime. But unfortunately, it doesn't, it includes Saturn to Saturn, Pluto to Saturn, like it includes, we don't do the Saturn to Pluto or the Uranus to Pluto or the outer to the far, like Uranus to Pluto or Neptune to Pluto. We don't do those ones. Like they're not as personalized. So they're mixed in with this. So you have to sift through this a little bit, but it does put all the main 8 aspects of the 8-year graph that we use. It just does it for a lifetime. And beside that, it gives the progressions to the natal chart, all of them. It just puts them all in. In this part beside it gives the Sabian symbols for each degree. We use the I Ching for each degree. And these things are the subpentans, but it tells you the house the moon's in. It tells you the house the Saturn's going through. And it gives you, so this is one of the main things that you do. I run it for a whole lifetime, I keep it for the person, but really you just need, you're looking for about 8 years that you're going to work with, but it lets you go back. I'd be going to 1967 here, sorry. I'd be looking at 66, 67, 68. So these are the 3 reports. This is what makes the Microsoft, and you need to have the advanced version, the professional version of WinStar. WinStar, I think it's 6 professional version. It's not worth getting the 2nd level. The 1st level you could do, it would carry you for a bit while, but it's cheaper to just wait and use whatever you got until you can get the program, and then you can use this program. The other programs don't have these reports. These reports are so useful, and they just set it up in a nice way to work with. So I wanted to take a few minutes to show you those, and we're going to be using them here. So here's 68 and 69. So there was nothing much happening in 66, 67, but 68, 69, the time I spent in the aloneness, there's the Venus conjunct the Venus. When I first started this, ran across the chanting and the master who got me into this. Then there's the That's the progressed moon to the natal sun. That's not the progressed full moon. This one doesn't give you the progressed moon phases. But there's the Saturn opposing my sun. There's the Saturn. I highlighted it. See, they put in, like at the top, Saturn opposed Neptune, Pluto square Uranus. I don't really pay attention to those ones so much. I didn't mark the Saturn moon. I should have. But then I marked each of the other ones coming down. So you could see the struggles I was going through while I was in the room. In that context, the Saturn one, we advised bide your time, just stay put. I literally was staying put and not coming out of that room for that whole Saturn opposed my sun. And it took the vision to get me out. I was waiting for the vision. So the Neptune was coming in on top of it. But really, this was a hard working period of not fitting in anywhere and trying to question my existence. But this lets me organize the 2 years. There's 2 years at a time. You can see it. So you can easily go backwards and forwards. I can look at the couple. Oops, I just, on this one, I just put the 2 years because it was relevant to our interpretation now, a couple of years ahead. These are instead of the 8-year graph, right? Now this is the progressions which we ran off. And when we do the progressions, that's the moon. I look down 68, 69. Before 68, 69, the progressed moon was opposed Neptune. I was just not feeling I belonged anywhere. I was kind of lost. At 67, I was traveling, and even though the hippie thing was really just beginning, I was realizing it was falling apart, and I had so identified to it. I had to think differently. So it was my progressed sun hitting Mercury. I was thinking for myself, but the outer circumstances I was living was kind of corrupt and not very good. So then the progressed moon, the moon opposed the sun, progressed moon opposed my natal sun. When I started the room, it went through it conjuncted Jupiter, it opposed Jupiter, then opposed Mercury, opposed Mars. The whole time in this room was from in my 9th house, opposing all my understanding. At the same time, the progressed sun was conjuncting my Mars. And my progressed Mercury had gone, progressed Mercury is going retrograde a few years later. Progressed Venus had already gone retrograde, but it was back at its own place at the beginning of this. And it hit my IC as I came back and I got married. So this is a bunch of things really quickly, but it's the organization that I want to show you, because it's the things you should get used to doing and that you can deal with all these complexities if you've got your organization correct. And these 3 reports, the transit, the Saturn one, the progressed ones, and so that you can work with just those reports. Because we've got it, it's better to have the graphics to have. You can work with these better. So here's the here we are back at the transit cycle for lifetime, the transit wheel, and I just want to show you something. I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's some. Wait a minute. I'll just take a bit to find this. Glasses. I'll just see if it's in here. It's just a different way I used to do them. I had a handmade chart, and I used to hand draw these transits, and I made it like a shelf. It's not there. Just give me a second. I think it's worse. I just get a check. My Venus wants to show this off. So, okay. The Saturn cycles. And